I thought I'd throw on some formal attire just so we all know who we're dealing with, and in this case it's a Devil May Cry super virgin like me. Hello lambs to the slaughter, it's me, Maple Syrup Individual, and welcome back to another reason why my girlfriend dumped me. Today I'm going to be talking about a game that resonates with me like no other game does. A game that I love more than bacon, in fact. Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry is a game where you play as a mercenary named Dante and his compadres Nero, Virgil, and V. And every game can be summarized the exact same way. Something awful's gonna happen, so let's just call Dante. Now for context, Devil May Cry was a hack and slash game that involved basically your entire controller. Every input you used on that controller meant something. You could switch weapons, you could use very versatile attacks, you could do attacks in midair and combos, and that's what made the game fun. That's what made the game its own thing, really. But for the past 5-ish years, the game's been pretty dry, and the last game that's been released was Devil May Cry 5, back in 2019. So Capcom, being desperate, decided, let's take a beloved franchise that we had for so many years and make it a fuck-awful gacha experience. A game style that it was never ever meant to be. I was first introduced to Devil May Cry when a game called Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was fresh off the press, and I remember playing a demo of it at the Microsoft store at my local mall, and I remember every player there was actually really good, with a particular fellow that had a red jacket and a cool sword that I remember seeing on Aoi Mii's Man-at-Arms. And thus, ya boy got a little curious. He did a little bit of digging, and what do you know, I found out this particular feller named Dante came from a game called Devil May Cry. And so I played basically all the games from Devil May Cry Reboot to Devil May Cry 1, all in reverse order because I didn't know how to play the games properly. And that's also the order I bought them in. And you best believe that when I first saw the Devil May Cry 5 announcement, I ejaculated with the force of a Barrett 50 caliber sniper rifle. Now, don't get me wrong, if Dante was a real person, I would polish his cock in the back of my throat for breakfast every morning. But Devil May Cry has never ever once gotten me excited for gacha. And for anybody who thinks I have an unfair judgment, I've played gacha games before. I've played a mobile Castlevania game that's now offline, and I've played like 4 of MiHoYo's gacha games. I've played Guns Girl Z, rest in peace by the way, Honkai Impact 3rd, the best gacha game in the world, Genshin Impact. You're a hypocrite for making a fan base cringe. Honkai Star Rail. I've only played for like a month, but still, I want to say this. I don't have an unfair judgment towards gacha. You can make a good gacha game. But there are some scummy policies that all they care about is money and not a good user experience. And that's what leads us into the stinky experience of Devil May Cry Peak of Combat. Fuck me, I didn't think this would actually happen. So I've been playing Devil May Cry Peak of Combat ever since its release, and I've got to tell you, it is probably the worst game I've ever played in my life. Do you have any idea how hard that is for me to say? Devil May Cry and worst game I've ever played in the exact same sentence is heartbreaking for me. So now comes Peak of Combat, where I tell you every single thing that I've just told you about Devil May Cry must be now rolled up into a tight little burrito and shoved up your sphincter. The game, the story, the characters, they all are completely different, and that it sucks. It sucks. It makes me sick. I feel gross playing it. I feel like I've contracted the Zika virus from looking at it. So take a look at this. On this sheet of paper is some gameplay that I've recorded under a chroma key extension, so that way it looks really cool when Virgil's cutting things up on a sheet of paper. In this gameplay, you'll see absolutely every attack animation requires some sort of button input or prompt. That's because the combat in Devil May Cry was really complex. That's the thing that made Devil May Cry so interesting in the first place, the gameplay. The gameplay was challenging, fun, exciting, and rewarding. And that leads to satisfaction beyond anybody's wildest imagination. So let's take all those flashy moves and fancy inputs and say, you know what? You get 2 buttons. 1, the mouse key. 2, your fucking Q key. And then I guess you could press R to do an ultimate or whatever. And then on mobile, it's even worse because your tiny little fucking buttons are going to be covered by your fat fingers. And then the rest of those moves that you get to do all in one character in Devil May Cry 5, now you'll have to pay us a shit ton of money or just get excessively lucky in a gacha system that we know is most likely rigged. And the worst part is, it's not even for the sake of doing combos, it's for the sake of doing a shitload of damage. It's no longer a game where it's like, fuck it, find out how to do it and have fun. It's a team strategy game where now you have to have 3 characters from Devil May Cry do things to work together. in combat. Somebody hold my hand, I need to take a shit. What the fuck is that switch up? It's like taking God of War and turning it into a Pokemon Go experience. And in case you don't know, damage is the one thing you don't want to do in Devil May Cry 5, let alone any Devil May Cry game. Damage is there just so it can fucking end your combo. If you're sitting there playing Devil May Cry, the last thing you want your enemy to do is die mid-combo, because then you're gonna have to improvise on how you're gonna have to start all over again on a different enemy. In fact, that's why people like playing on hard mode, or modes like Dante Must Die mode, where enemies have a lot more health, and there's even people who mod the game so that the enemies take like 15 fucking billion damage before they die. The game was never made for us to do damage, the game was made for us to look cool doing it. I think some of the most sinful things that the creators behind this game, which wasn't exactly Capcom. Capcom licensed the game, but the creators were a company known as Nebula Joy. God, I hate that name now. Nebula Joy has decided, let's make Devil May Cry the most obnoxious and cringy thing you'll ever see now. And to prove that this game is going down in the shitters because Nebula Joy doesn't know how to advertise their game, oh yeah, we're gonna look at advertisements. Do be warned though, because these ads have nuclear levels of cringe.
I'm Peppa Pig. This is my little brother George. This is Mommy Pig. And this is Daddy Pig.
The devil sure is crying with this one. Why'd they have to audio distort the Peppa Pig intro and put Dante and Virgil in a fucking wheelchair? It's like 2014 era memes just suddenly hit them. And they're like, oh, that's funny. Let's put that in our ad. That has nothing to do with the game. Also, keep in mind that that's Devil May Cry 5 gameplay right there. That's a cutscene during, I think, mission 19, the last mission almost. And that's gonna be a reoccurring thing. This game has zero originality, other than its gacha system and its shitty voice actors.
Devil May Cry, Peak of Combat, showcased at Apple's spring launch event.
Fuck! Not the PopCat meme!
Captivated the audience with its unique charm. As the title deemed the pinnacle of action games, the series' signature blend of flexible strategy and skillful combinations, coupled with its dazzling combat style.
I can't handle it anymore. You are lying out of your fucking ass. The gameplay was not fun, the combinations were not dazzling, but I will give the game this. I'm surprised the game lets us jump cancel. And for anybody that doesn't know what jump canceling is, or anybody who's unfamiliar with Devil May Cry, jump canceling is this. So picture you're in midair with an enemy and you're attacking them, and suddenly you jump off them and start attacking again, so that way you can cancel all the things that you've already done. So that way you can do them again in midair. It's tech like that that made Devil May Cry so fucking awesome, but nowadays you see this shit and you're like, what the fuck am I even playing?
I am Dante.
I am Trish.
I am V.
I am Lady.
I am Nira.
And I'm ready to take a swan dive into a wood chipper.
You know what I'm going to say.
Okay, wise guy, what were you going to say? I'm Virgil, or I am the storm that is approaching? I love how people do that stupid AI horse shit. Like, I don't like AI even in the slightest. They take the fucking picture of somebody, and then they have like an AI move their face. It's so weird and gross, and it feels like I'm looking at a dead body just being forced to speak.
Hey, come and try this genuine mobile version of Devil May Cry.
Oh great! Now we're thirst-trapping Devil May Cry fans.
Peak of Combat, authorized and co-developed by Capcom.
Boom.
I also just realized they're playing Sigma Chad funk music in the back.
All the characters of the Devil May Cry series will appear in the game, and players are allowed to freely match lineups.
Two things to say. Number one, I'm gonna call your bluff. I bet Lucia from Devil May Cry 2 is not gonna make a fucking chance of an appearance in the game. And number two, what the fuck are those push-ups? I'm one to talk about shitty push-ups because for my 100 subscriber special, I did push-ups up to 100. And the camera angle looked admittedly terrible, but here, I'm gonna do it again for you. Okay, let's try again. This time, I'll take off my fucking jacket because it's getting hot as shit. Arms to the ground, straighten your legs, and then you go down to your fucking nose. If your dick touches the ground, that's good too. And then you go up again. It's that easy. What you're doing is essentially either fucking the ground like this, or you're doing this. That's it. Shirts off and glasses are off. I'm going for the killing blow. I have to hop into the game and show you just how much worse this gets. Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs, we're doing this. Fuck. So if we hop into the game real quick, we'll actually notice something, that you immediately get bombarded by a bunch of ads and incentivizations to spend money. I want you to pay attention to the prices real quick. So first off, you get your daily login horse shit, which I could not be fucked to care about. And then the next thing you get is, oh, it's just 80% off. Look at all this. Look what you get. It's all 80% off. It's only $1.69 to get it all. And then here's your gacha animation with a really awfully rendered Virgil. I haven't even gotten into the game. It's so fucking loud, I can't turn the volume down somehow. And now here I am in game. I know my webcam blocks most of the stuff and you can't exactly see what's happening, but trust me, it's so incredibly hard to tell what's happening because there's ads here, and there's even shit down here. What's this? Whew! More free shit to ruin the purpose of the game? I'll take it. Now, if we click something like shop, let's go here. So obviously it's gonna have the same shit that we just looked at, but a second ago it's gonna say, so take a look at this. You can buy skins for some of your characters which look absolutely awful and are super lazy, but pay attention to this. This one is 1,980 of these currency things called Devil Gems. Let's go to Devil Gems and see how much that costs. So you'll have to either buy this twice or this once. In the grand scheme of things, this is $53.98, or if my math is correct. My math was correct, and I'm actually super impressed with myself that I did that on the spot. Would you be willing to spend $53.98 for a skin of Virgil wearing black? I don't think I'd have to, nor do I want to. I'm not incentivized to buy this shit. Now, here's the worst of it. Take a look at this. So you'll see that this game is attempting to give you a deal where this is 90% off. And all you have to do is spend $2 and you get all of this stuff. Let's assume for a moment this wasn't 90% off. You would now be spending $26.99 for this? This is what you want us to spend $26.99. Now, I know it's not what you're spending on, and it's probably not what you're going to actually end up spending because this is a tactic that they do. What they do is they take a absurd price and make that the base price. But then during the launch of the game or during a special event, they'll kick it down and then they'll make that the permanent price. But it's further incentivization to buy it because what if they take it away? And then here's where it gets even worse. Here's the 90% off of this one, where now it gives you a little bit more for $3.99, but it's now saying $40.99. Oh, 90% off. Yeah, in what universe am I going to either believe, or what universe am I going to pay 40 bucks for that? Here's where it gets a lot worse. $6 for this shit, And then you're going to have to spend $69 pretty much for this. Now, I know what you're saying. You're not going to spend 69 bucks for it. You're going to spend $6.79. Well, hang on. Let's also take into consideration the fact that you're going to have to buy this first, and then you can buy this. And here's the grand total of all three of those combined. But we're just at the tip of the iceberg, baby. No, we're gonna slam this iceberg all the way down our ass until it ruptures my prostate. Take a look at this. This is $13. It's 60% off. Would you buy it? No, I wouldn't buy it personally. But take a look at this. This is also $34.99. Canadian, at least. But if we do it again and go down here, this is $68.99 for this. Now, 60% off. It's supposed to be $179.99 for this. This is $179, but it gets worse. Read that. This is the greediness of this company. And this is only just Nebula Joy. This isn't Capcom. I wouldn't say Capcom's greedy with microtransactions, but would you spend $134 for this, and this? assume this was an alternate universe where this wasn't 67% off and you had to pay $400 fucking dollars. Oh, let's do a gacha summon on Virgil. Fuck yeah. Oh, what's this? Oh shit, I got him. Would you look? Oh, Virgil! Oh! 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 So I didn't have to spend $400 on it. I got him right away. Missed opportunity to also bring up the fact that the game wants me to spend more money after getting Virgil. Okay, so now let's switch to Virgil and show you what I mean by this is not a gameplay style that Devil May Cry should be accustomed to. I would also like to apologize in advance because the gameplay is going to be extremely loud and I'm going to have to yell over the excessive use of overused voice lines and sound effects. So now that we're in combat, take a look here. You'll notice that that sword attack that I just did required an input, but it also has now a fucking cooldown. Cooldowns are not something Devil May Cry should ever have, and you'll see it with every character. The gameplay is dissatisfying, the characters are uninteresting now, and the boring emasculation of the combat has ruined this game. And the fact that they reused assets, if you listened carefully, you'll actually hear it. That is a reused voice line from Dan Southworth, the original voice actor for Virgil. They do the exact same thing with Dante, though. Listen carefully. So that's all Ruben Langdon, the voice actor for Dante. You want to know the craziest part, though? Is that Ruben Langdon is not voicing Dante in this game. So they've directly used voice lines from previous Devil May Cry games to make this game sound a bit more better, if you would. Same thing with Nero. They reused his voice lines from Johnny Young Bosch. If you thought reused assets, reused voice lines, and boring gameplay that they've emasculated was the only sin that Nebula Joy committed along the side of terrible mobile game ads, you'd be wrong. Because Nebula Joy is known for being a terrible organization or company that deals with games, like gacha games. I've heard whispers before saying that Nebula Joy used to put malware or viruses in their games, or spyware, some shit like that. I'm not super aware of that or if there's any proof behind that. I've done a little bit of research for now and I haven't found really anything except this big ass Reddit post which is complaining about Nebula Joy. I also found another video by a fellow YouTuber named Craftium who made a video called Devil May Cry Peak of Combat. It's not just bad. And in that video, I found a screenshot that I took that I think is quite disturbing regarding the workplace environment. Chapter 1. The most toxic era of the server due to certain users in their negligence of staff of the server at this time, I think it says. There was a very toxic pedophile user on the server. I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. Two things in this world that piss me off are drunk drivers and pedophiles. He always attacked users and had toxic behavior, and whenever he saw a woman he tried to flirt with her regardless of her age, and many of the women he flirted with were minors. This user was too toxic and disgusting, and there was an unpleasant atmosphere on the server because of him. The person was so toxic and harassed so many women that some had to pretend to be men to not be harassed by this bastard. Here's where it gets interesting. At one point, the developers were going to give him the role of moderator just because he was very famous and active. Basically, they were going to give a mod role to a pedophile. And luckily, he just laughed at them and rejected the role Kalina on, a mod. This, in my opinion, has been more damning evidence that this is actually happening on the Devil May Cry Nebula Joy Peak of Combat server, because Kalina On is the name of a weapon in Devil May Cry. So if that's what they title you as for a mod, then I would be a little bit more suspicious of Nebula Joy's choices. The reason why I say this is because now this is definite proof that this did not go somewhere else, or this didn't happen on just any ordinary Discord server. It happened on a Devil May Cry server. So Nebula Joy is now being called out by this person. So let's skip to chapter 2. Employees at the time, one of the community managers was fired from the company and got muted and banned from the server for no reason. The reason for her ban was that shortly after being fired, she commented on the server that she had a job interview as a community manager on a Twitter account, and they banned her with the excuse, "You can't talk about those things here." She was banned just for giving an update on her employment status. These messages were deleted sometime later by the developers, and not much evidence remained. In conclusion, I will no longer be playing Devil May Cry Peak of Cancer. It's a scam, and I will never be touching any other game by Nebula Joy, as they're a shitty company and they don't deserve my money nor my respect. From taking a beloved franchise and making it awful with terrible mobile ads, to taking Dante behind the barn and shooting him, and then taking his corpse and stringing it up like a puppet, telling us, "Look guys, he's still here, he's doing the cool thing." I will never be touching this game ever again. And I hope what I brought to you in this video is kind of enlightening, in hopes that you don't touch this game, or you don't get scammed, or you don't potentially get hit with some sort of malware. Once again, that's a huge speculation. I haven't even heard like too much about it. I've just heard whispers, but I'd rather you be safe than sorry. If you like what you saw in this video, please make sure to like the video and subscribe. I will be uploading a bit more later down the line of this month. I think I'm going to be moving out shortly, so trust me, all my situations are going to be taken well care of. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Go fuck yourself. I don't like you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Also, one last thing. I made an Instagram not too long ago, and I'll link it in the description.